We are online. We are live. We are live.
Dr. Nadim,
We are live.
we can begin.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. It's be here with you on a very cold morning in Beirut, unusually cold. I hope it is a little bit warmer where you're at. I guess Gustavo, as cold as we are. So today we have sort of a hands-on experience that we would like to share with you how we are doing basically the engine for our work, and from which we hope to be producing some tangible results. Today, as you may already know, the agenda for us is that we would set up today with Gustavo and I. After we start would be to look at what we are doing and describe for you what our team at the American University of Beirut has been doing, and also then turn it over to Dr. Majid, who is the director of the Egyptian National Science and Technology Information Network and at the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. After it goes through his description of a very intricate, if you will, boiler room engine, takes in data and helps us identify and score it. Then after that, we will be moving on to three presentations of projects that we selected for analysis today. The first one is Veggie Med Cheeses project, and Professor Buthaina will be presenting it for us. Then there is the In the Med project by Dr. Haneen Akrut, and Dr. Hatem Bakhouch will work on that. And then Aquasalt by Professor Naeem Al-Bashtouli, who will be presenting this to us. Then we will move into a session where we analyze the projects that we have. Since the people that have joined us so far is still low, we will have only one group rather than two groups to work with. And this will be, this session will be moderated and sort of run by Dr. Gustavo and I. And at the end of our work, we will compare things that we have come to. And at the end, at around 12 Tunisia time, we will wrap up and close this session for today, this particular session. And I would like then, if Gustavo, would you like to say something, or shall we just move in and do the work?
No, I mean, you are already expressed the homework for today. I mean, it's a learning by doing the session. So we want to share with everybody our thoughts, our approach, and you will realize that we will reach probably situations that maybe there is missing data, but we can discuss all together about how far from achieving a potential impact factor, or if the funding authority should be requesting this kind of indicators, if the indicators are the suitable ones, or which kind of indicators may you suggest to improve the econometric model that we are applying? But as Nadine already implemented, let's define the context, let's define the approach, the methodology, and then we hear to the projects, we hear to the people engaged in the session how to better improve the approach, or how to let the funding agencies pay attention on the types of indicators that should be collected. At the end, our approach is trying to understand the potential of commercializing of some science and research and innovation that is being developed in the Mediterranean, addressing the Nexus challenges.
Great. Thanks, Gustavo. Okay, then let me start by describing what the whole process that we're engaged in assessing the projects. The ultimate aim of what we're trying to do is to look at eventually projects that will be submitted to for funding, and these projects have to be evaluated upon their potential for success, different levels of success and different areas of success. And we are trying to come up with a model that would allow us to predict in advance the chance for success of such a project, given certain key elements or indicators that are embedded within it. Said this, I will start by sharing a screen for a very brief presentation before I turn over our work to Dr. Majid. Let me start here. Okay. I guess you can all see my screen. Yes? Good. Okay, so what we're trying to do is get in on projects. These have key indicators that I will discuss in a little bit later. Turn it over to the team led by Dr. Majid, and they will process it through I would want to call it a boiler that takes the information that we have, or into which and give it a score based on a scoring we assign, and then produce a scored result. For us to be able to develop the scoring and an econometric model that can take the input and look at the outputs of existing completed projects, these two will give us a model that would allow us to predict future scores. So the flow is we put in data from from projects. These projects are screened for the key indicators that we're looking for, and then they are assigned a score, benchmarks that we have developed, and then we would develop an econometric model that would allow us to evaluate it. So the two steps are, the two major movements are the following. We score the indicators or the metrics for the project, for the different projects. And these metrics are compared to a benchmark. And then this benchmark and this comparison would yield a score for each metric or each parameter. Then these will be entered. Then this is the process that goes through the what we call the iHub, and Dr. Majid will explain it a little bit in more detail. The benchmarking then gives us the score for the inputs, and then gives us a score for the outputs. And based on the inputs and the outputs, we develop our econometric model. Now, what are the indicators that we're looking at for each set of projects? There are 5 functions that we are mainly interested in, and which are described by metrics or parameters. And for each of those, we have done a lot of research to develop benchmarks And the first function that we want a project to look at is what's the potential for its commercialization. It's not, we are interested in projects that are potentially commercializable. And we looked at extensive literature, and we determined that 5 parameters describe it most. First is how many industries are involved in the ideation stage of the project development, and how many ideas were developed from the project outcome. So one is in the developing of the idea of the project, and the industries involved might be several of different types: academic, commercial, private enterprise, public enterprises, combination of both, any of those. How many SMEs, small and medium enterprises, foreign, did invest in the project? And then the value would be euros. And how many intellectual property rights does the project have in relation to water, energy, and food? Remember, what we're working on is the nexus of water, energy, and food. How many intellectual property rights does the project have in relation to that? How many commercialization or market studies were conducted as part of the project? And there is not really that many that we could find a benchmark for, an important set of values that we're looking at. And I think we just are a little bit far away from developing that benchmark. The next critical component is intellectual property rights protection and utilization. So how many patents were filed in relation to water, energy, and food, and how many intellectual property brokering services were delivered? And then we looked at the entrepreneurial activities. How many entrepreneurial ideas were identified in the scouting stage and supported in relation to the WEF? And then we look at how many industries and SME researchers were trained to initiate or create enterprises. How many business development organizations were receiving support for coaching and acceleration programs on the WEF? How many public-private partnership ventures or agreements resulted from the project? The fourth function that we are interested in is the magnitude of cooperation. How many enterprises with a research institute? How many SMEs were using program support for cooperating with research institutions on the WEF? How many SMEs were using program support for cooperation of education, research and development, and innovation on the WEF? How many enterprises were involved per project? And what are their varied experiences in relation to the water, energy, food nexus? Then we move on to the public or private stakeholders. How engaged were they in pilot projects or training events? And how many public institutions cooperated to strengthen the multi-level governance for delivering this integrated the measures that we're looking at? And the last component that we look at is the technological advancement that the projects would provide. And we're looking at how many prototypes were developed or planned in relation to resource efficiency or demand management in the WEF, and how many technology transfer support activities or initiatives were there embedded within the project, and how many pilots or application of new technology in living labs were there, and how many SMEs with technology innovation were introduced to the organization, and how many strategies for resource efficient use and use of non-conventional resources were developed. Now, if you look at the benchmark, you'd think the scores are, whoa, these are inflated. Please keep in mind that this consortium of people we're working is already close. If we round it up, it's 10 groups from several countries across the Mediterranean. And the numbers that we can generate are huge. So shouldn't be scary for us. Sorry, let me move down. And just to inform you of how the benchmarking was done. The functions were created for us to be able to assess the impact, and the 22 metrics that remember there were 5 that were highlighted in yellow. Let me go back, sorry. 6 that were highlighted in yellow. These are what we call deal breakers. We have to have information on this for us to be able to assess a project. And to get the metrics, the value for the metrics, and compare them to benchmark, we did a metric survey. It was created within the hub where users can enter data for these projects. We developed a scoring formula for each of the metrics that we can, in association with the individual metric that we're looking at. And these were given a score between 1 and 5. If no data was available, we gave them the value 999, so that when we enter the data into iHub would automatically drop this metric that has a value of 999 from the assessment, so that it will only calculate scores for metrics with values between 1 and 5. And this is how we did the calculation. We went into the benchmark ratio, we called it, where we look at the metric value and divide it by the benchmark value. And if it has a value of less than 0.3, it is very poor. And between 3.3 and 0.5, it's poor. And if it reaches the halfway mark and a little bit above, it's fair. Above 3/4, it's successful. And 1.75, it exceeds the benchmark value. It is a very successful project. For the 5 functions and the KPIs, a table was developed that would be entered into the iHub. And allow me to share that table with you now, if I may. Let me see. Hold on. Let me stop sharing this and share the table with you. Okay, this is the table. Can you see it? No? Okay. Okay, this is the table that we have developed, and this encompasses a slew of information, and each project is given an ID, a title, and the implementing institution, the organization, the area of assessment, where area of emphasis, a small description of the project with the objectives, and the achieved outcomes. And we looked at the initial budget and then the final budget, because some projects start with a small budget and then it mushrooms. At the time frame over which the project spanned, because you can spend $1 million in 1 year or $1 million that is of significance. And then we look at if there are any references to the project. This is what is entered into iHub. And I guess Dr. Majid will then take over in the description. Going back to, going back to the presentation where we were at. As you can see, this is the content of the table. And for us to be able, and this is part of the exercise today, for us to be able to assess whether our scoring using, and sorry, let me back up a little bit. This we hope to do for at least 100 projects if possible. If possible. We are information on projects. So far, we have very, very limited response, very shy response. The more projects we can get, completed information that we're looking for, the more robust our econometric model will be. So the model will let us know what the inputs are. We enter that into the econometric model. We know what the outputs are. This will allow us to develop the relation we're looking for. The more models, the more projects that we have, the more robust the model is. Once we develop this econometric model and score it, what we wanted to do eventually, and this is today is a start for that, is to run what we call the PIPA, the Participatory Impact Pathway Assessment. And for that, what we want to do is to look at the top 5 scoring projects and the lowest 5 scoring projects. Participants such as yourselves who are experts or knowledgeable in certain areas of interest or have run projects, coordinated them, we want you to work with us so that we can understand why the top 5 scored so high, and if the scoring is logical, makes sense for the top and the bottom, and also maybe we can understanding what makes a project successful and what makes a project not successful, so that we can inform participants or future what do you call it, future submitters to the project, if we can then allow them to better set up their projects. And I guess this is basically done for us. Thank you for your attention. I hope I did not take too long for this. I turn it over to our guests and panelists to see if there are any questions here. Yes, Haneen, please. You're muted.
Okay, yes. Good morning, everyone. Very interesting talks, Mr. Nadim. I want to say something about the outcomes. When there is not quantifiable, you cannot quantify this outcome, like reduce pollution for the environment, media. How could we integrate this parameter in the outcomes, which is very important to reach, for example, when there's a problem of pollution in groundwater, for example.
You see that what we're looking at in this assessment is we're looking at the commercialization potential of a project. And to get it commercial, the parameters that we identified are critical for a project to launch and then to achieve the reduced pollution. Because when you start, your project aims to reduce pollution to a certain level, but you have not started. For you to be able to start, you need to have certain involved, certain partnerships with a government involved, certain patents that are set out, certain publications that are. All of these will help you realize your goal of reducing potential. So there is no quantifying of the real effect of the project until it is running up and running. What most projects do, they start out as pilots, and then we need to assess the success of the pilot. If you don't launch a pilot, we don't know. And the pilot then will give you an outcome limited to the area that you're working on, probably. I don't know if I answered your question. I guess you come from a totally scientific background, right?
Yes, but when we apply for PRIMA, we have, for example, doing some pilot. We are not the project in PRIMA are not developing project research developing. They're in level between commercialization and research development. We already did this pilot. We are demonstrate the efficiency of our technology, for example, in some cases.
Yes, yes, and then this show of commercialization of technological success needs to be translated to something that's commercial and that can be put into the market or can be implemented. Basically, it is crude and it is mercantile, if you want. It's not pure, as academia would be, but this is reality and this is our life. Sorry, Gustavo, please go ahead.
No, I mean, at the end, the exercise is also for the researchers, owners, the coordinators, is to understand, maybe they didn't make the questions themselves. So today they have the opportunity to understand how far from a potential commercialization they are. So maybe they already have the data, but they don't have implemented properly, or they don't realize about, okay, maybe if we scratch a little bit on the data that we have, we can understand not the final figure, but we can understand how far from reaching that figure we are. So we can understand if we can go to the private sector and we sit in front of them, we have a different selling propositions. I mean, this is a valuable project because we have this kind of pattern. We have already demonstrated. This is the number of people that we have reached. This is the number of publications released. These are, I mean, it's try to find out if they have a reply or something close to a reply to the indicators that Nadim already shared with you all. I mean, it's difficult that the projects can reply to all of the indicators, but it is something to enter into practice. In fact, Prima is already requesting to all the ongoing projects a report of, let's say, 21 different indicators, most of them close to the research, but all others linked to the potential exploitation. I mean, this is an exercise that the funding agency should promote more, because at the end, nowadays, the project is not only about the basic research, it's about how the taxpayers can capitalize the money that they have provided to develop such a research, which is the impact at the end. And when you apply for a project that is targeting a high TRL, it is expected that by the end of the project, you have something to capitalize close to the market. So this is the situation.
Yeah, I mean, we are living in a world where every penny must be accounted for. And we are no longer, unfortunately, in the times where science is done just for science. That has still some value. Science that is done needs to have a reflection in our society, and through that it has to have some ability to impact us positively, and that is done through different commercial enterprises. Governments can no longer afford to do this. Nikos Larkos, you have a question? You have. I don't know if Nikos can speak, Abir, or does question be put in the question and answer box?
I would say it could be great if they can do it in the same way like yesterday during the session. Just put on the Q&A section and the moderator.
Yeah, Nikos, question in the, yeah, there you go. Good morning to you. If other attendees have questions, please follow Nikos' lead by putting your questions in the question and answer box, please.
While Nikos is typing the question, I would say that we can keep this discussion.
Okay, Haneen, you don't seem to be too convinced of what we had said.
We cannot hear you.
I don't know why the hand it is still here, but I will go.
You can bring it down. You can bring it down if you go to
Okay.
where you raised it. You click on it.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So Nikos is writing a long question, it seems. Right then. Any other questions? Nikos' question. Yes, Nikos, the PIPA tool is basically used for pre-assessment. We started wanting to look at it in a pre-project assessment. But if we do that for 100 projects, we will never finish our work. And we can never, even for 30 projects, it will not be done. Because the PIPA process is by a consultative and a process that's participatory, where several people come into that, and it will take a long time to do it. Sort of hybridized it, and we are doing it as on the back end of the project. So it is sort of a post-project assessment for us. And by the way, the assessors, when we do the PIPA process for once we get the econometric model up and running, the evaluators will have no information on the projects that have been assessed before. All they will be looking at are the description of the project. They would not have had any involvement in the project itself. They would have the description, the key outcomes, and then they will be able to assess how successful or not they were. I hope I've answered your question. If not, post it again, and I'll move in the meantime to Buthaina. Please go ahead, Buthaina.
Hello. I have just a remark. For scientists, we are researchers and scientists. From I think perhaps 10 years ago, we hadn't ideas on all what you explained, Mr. Nadim, about projects. So it's very difficult to submit a project with all these conditions. And that's why we perhaps need always to receive workshops or formation about all this to know how to write and how to submit the project, to have more chances to have it.
Yes. You're right, because we're finding it difficult to find projects with the elements that we want. So that's why we put the 5 or 6 key deal breakers in there. And as Gustavo has said, it's not only us as researchers who are finding it difficult to contextualize our research within the parameters that are there. It is also the donor, the funding agencies, the partners who are providing us with the funds to do our work. They don't have the framework for their analysis. They did not have it really tied down. And what is being offered now, and the beauty of what is being offered now, is a unbiased, objective way of assessing a project given certain parameters. Of course, these parameters will have to evolve with time, and there's no arguing that. It will have to evolve with time, but it's a start. And for us to start, this is, I think, would be what we are offering here for researchers and for the partners, the funding partners. This is a critical offering, I think, and it's a very encouraging and offering. That's why we're sticking to it. We've been at this for what now? A year and some, Gustavo, working on this. I think it's a little bit more than a year that we've been working on this. And we're still struggling to get information on projects. Gustavo, when the project started, was told, blonde, blue-eyed, and now with all the trouble that he had, he lost his hair, he had to struggle with Corona and all that, and still we're not getting enough projects. And we really, really need projects. I cannot emphasize enough how many projects we need.
What I can share is that we have already reflected that need for the funding agencies. I mean, the question that we raised here about, okay, you are funding projects, you are getting scientific outputs, but maybe this scientific output is lacking a commercialization because you are not requesting the suitable questions. So why not, by the time of the midterm reports, beyond the scientific and financial reporting, you also request other types of indicators. I mean, if you have not requested during the launch of the call, you cannot request so far, but it's just to start showing the researchers that by the next call, you will probably need to reflect which is your ambition, where you are going to reach by the end of the project, how it's going to be capitalized. So, and we are starting to contribute to this kind of indicators and to let the people be familiar with and to realize that maybe they already have these kind of indicators, but they are not paying attention because they are focused on research, on publications, on patenting, and so on. But there is other things around that could be raised, and at the end, later you can capitalize. Let's say that you have a fruitful project, and then you enter the data on the iHub, and then it provides you a match with a company that is requesting this kind of outputs, and then you can start discussing the same language. So I would say that later our developers could make a presentation of the platform to let you realize about the capabilities, the possibilities. There is a metaphor that our colleagues developed there about what could be the platform in the future in terms of some kind of Olympic Games at the end, and let you be a reference within the Mediterranean when you are addressing a problem, a challenge in terms of water, energy, and food. So you have the visibility, and the people could know you, could reach you. You could develop further collaborations beyond the one that you have.
Thanks, Gustavo. Nick, this is the last part because we need to turn over to Dr. Majid. Nico, that from his point of view, the PIPA tool can be also an in-house evaluation tool that will indicate the performance of the specific consortium to provide the results and its potentiality to become a regional cluster, like a core that will affect its operational environment. Look, any analysis of impact is, I'm not big on but when you want to be a core and to work in a certain area, you have to show your capability and to understand the impacts that can affect the pathway that you take into reaching your ultimate goal. So yes, the PIPA can in that sense work, but you have to assign it to a program or a, how do I call it, a philosophy of action. But then you also have to look at the outcomes somewhere to assess the outcomes. What we are providing through iHub is a form of a mechanized or format where the participatory aspect is done by entering the data and having collected so many projects that would learn that from which iHub would continuously learn. At some point, and Dr. Majid mentioned that a while back when we were meeting, artificial intelligence can kick in this. So the more projects we enter, the better the econometric model can itself improve and change the scoring that it produces based on what it is getting. So yes, if we want to do it on an in-house level, maybe iHub can then be a support for you to do that. Okay. I think I need to stop this unless there is some pressing point that needs to be made before I turn it over to Dr. Majid. Okay, if none, Dr. Majid, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr.
Unmute.
Nadeem. Thank you so much. Okay, allow me to share my screen. Okay, I trust you received the screen now. You can see the presentation, right? Okay, I will go like in a very let's say fast pace through the presentation. The main problem that we are all as researchers aware of that always facing the R&I projects is mainly the lack of academia and industry connections, the lack of between the ideas, the innovations, and the investors. And this is where the FEMAC project and the IHAP tried to actually, let's say, resolve such issue through a set of sub tools or sub portals for the IHAP main portal. So the project main purpose actually is to develop and disseminate interactive platform, which we call it IHAP, for the best practices, mainly for the PRIMA strategic research and innovation agenda, where we are actually identifying and measuring and doing some profile for the project results in terms of its potential for market maturity and commercialization. Again, it's for the commercialization part rather than for the, let's say, the deep research part and the validation of the research itself. Once identified results are actually identified by the data process and the evaluation as smart tools that we have, those more adapted for commercializations will be facilitated with a set of events through the FEMAC project itself to help in the process of building the encounters between the research and private investors for those projects to be like the best practice in the area. IHAP modules. IHAP platform, again, it has like 6 sub portals, let's say. The first one is Plaza. Plaza is the dissemination module. It's like a social hub for the project. Rialto is actually served 2 purposes, the repository purpose, where we have a very sophisticated database that for all projects, and hopefully we have this to like actually building up more and more, where we can have this kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning methodology to like actually really study the projects in the project basis as well, rather than the post project basis only. So Rialto is a repository and marketplace with a set of matchmaking tools and filtering tools. We have the smart benchmarking and forecasting tool, and this is where, thanks to Dr. Nadeem's team, where we have harnessed the PPAP into the IHAP and actually have the smart part of the project running through the IHAP platform. The job opportunity, it's like a bank of jobs in the region for those projects featured over the platform. We have like also some set of business tools, business intelligence tools to develop dashboards, and we are putting all this together in a form of best practice reports and catalog. So this is the Plaza. Plaza, again, it's meant to disseminate the advancement of the projects, achievements, news and events, and also highlight on the lesson learned from previous programs and projects in the region. Rialto, as we said, it's the one-stop shop for project outcomes that will be stewarded, promoted, valorized through multi-channel platform feeding. We have the options to like actually have like a batch import of data from funding agency rather than like manually entering a project by project basis. We have like also the opportunity for project PIs to like actually tinker with the platform and get their data for their individual projects as well. So we have like a multi-channel for platform feeding, and it's open access, let's say, for that will also open an innovation dimension for funding agency, program managers, researchers to post project profiles and funding ideas, and let's say challenges and solutions, and interact accordingly. On top of this repository, and that we hope it will grow by time, indeed with the participation from every funding agency in the region, and that's what we need to build on a central database for, let's say, documenting our success stories and let's say struggles, and as well as to avoid in the future. On top of this, we have the interactive tools, the smart filtering and matchmaking tools that actually create what's so-called virtual marketplace for innovation. It's the second part of the or the user-facing part of the Rialto, where individual investors can actually go through and filter through the projects and have this scoring rates of the commercialization potentials, and they can make their mind and start interacting with the project team, and they hopefully reach an agreement of collaboration and like meet in the technology offering and technology proposals. The Linked Job Bank, again, is the repository of employment for the MPC region. It's mainly focused toward the younger audience, where we are trying to actually, through this job bank and making use of the youngest researchers in the region, actually to like add to their capacity as well, by involving them into the projects, and also to like actually have like a kind of entrepreneurs in the futures from this job opportunities. It's like any job bank where the employers or the let's say the program managers can actually announce jobs, and young professionals will search for job opportunities and do their submissions. The BBI map, or what the dashboard is, online mapping tool actually. It's a set again of business intelligence tools to showcase promising projects and interaction and collaboration in the form of dashboards. It highlights on the best practices, and it's indeed a result driven for the project outputs, and it actually highlights on the projects from the feedbacks from the FEMAC experts, the Dr. Nadim's team, and the IHAP Smart project forecasting module that is actually based on the PIPA and the econometrics model. The best practice catalog is a set of reports based on the econometric studies, and actually it should be beneficial for the capacity building of project managers and innovators in the region, where they can find the best practice in terms of tools, techniques, models, policy briefs, the received private investments for highlighting on the projects that actually received private investments and their success stories and how they actually achieved this as well. The e-benchmarking or smart forecasting assessment tool. This is how we actually hope it will turn in a one day to be like a real forecasting tool for pre-projects. And again, this is actually the start, and this could be reached when we have enough data. We have this hype of the big data analysis, and with more data, we can actually be more easier and in terms of the asking of the form or the input metrics. The system can really mimic the expertise of human and can really drive a more smart, in a more smart way, the let's say inferential way to analyze the project based on the historic projects on the platform itself. The main thrust of iHub Smart Services and the unique part of it, that we harness the PIPA and the econometric model developed by Dr. Nadim's team to actually forecast or predict the output of ongoing projects given a certain set of inputs, as showed by Dr. Nadim, through using the PIPA analysis to develop scoring system for like inputs versus outputs, or the expected and actual results evaluation. The model tested in existing projects, and today through the rest of the sessions, we will have the opportunity to actually further put this in a test for any fine tuning for the model when we are actually comparing the iHub results with the experts results through the sessions coming next. New projects that have those required inputs, those, let's say, the deal breakers, as Dr. Nadeem said, will be assessed, and the system can really assess them, and the expected outputs will be scored and predicted and communicated with through the platform to the investors, and as a commercialization index and rate, so they can hopefully start engaging and with the researchers, and the uptake process get involved. The iHub econometrics, as Dr. Nadeem highlighted, it's a composite indicator. Currently, it has like 5 dimensions or 5 KPIs components of the index, which is the commercialization potential, intellectual property, entrepreneurial and cultural activities, magnitude of cooperation, technological advancement or tech transfer. And this is where the beta analysis are actually taking place. And those are the main KPIs, which is then broken down to those 22 input metrics. All the projects featured over the iHub platform, we is completely secured, and the privacy policy is clearly communicated, and the FEMAC from day one adopted the CDA confidential disclosure agreements for any funding agency or even projects that will be submitted over the platform. We have like a data management plan also posted over the FEMAC website. So we are taking care of this very well. The iHub analogy, if you allow me, the iHub need to help research project to find the best route to the market. It's like the go-to-market GPS navigation map apps, and this possible through the active participation at the first place. As you know that those GPS tools and the Google Maps, for instance, are getting smarter by more users that actually using it, who are showing that the street is actually busier than that one, or there is some bumps along this route, and the other one is more paved. So more projects means that the model will be more fine-tuned and actually show a better routes for the projects to follow. FEMAC composite metric help linking academia with industry, while best practice catalog shows the shortest path from research to market. Finally, FEMAC hackathon and go-to-market event highlights on projects as a landmark for investors. This is actually a very technical part. I will not going to go deep in this, but just to show you the powerfulness of the repository, the Rialto part of the FEMAC project, and how detailed the project designed. This is, for instance, the organization's information that we are harvesting into the platform, the program IDs and program details for those funding agencies, the program data. We have those input metrics. Those are the interactions of the web forms and interviews with the task force managers for collecting and helping you to actually fill in those 22 metrics. As we know from researchers, and it's quite challenging. We do agree on this, and that's why we have the task force to help you to have this in a right way. This is the web forms feedback, and this is actually where the experts are fine-tuning the scoring part of the platform. And today, where we have this opportunity to further assess the iHub model and performance with the evaluation of 2 projects that will be compared with the iHub, this is where the system can adopt for those fine-tuning, where we can actually reset those values, the low and higher values on metrics for each individual KPI, so the system could really be more smart and adopt those changes. If you allow me to go to take you through a tour, a walkthrough for the iHub in a video for 3 minutes, this will be great. I will need to just stop sharing the screen and share the video. By the way, the video has like an audio track, so you might prefer to lower a bit your audio system if you prefer.
No video is showing until now.
I'm coming to it, sir.
Okay, okay.
It has a special codec and better to have it that way. Okay.
Yep.
Those are the 22 input metrics, by the way. So this is like the tour through the iHub platform, and you can you are already invited to go through the iHub, and the URL is fmac.eu, by the way, where you can create an account for free and start to search and filter and make yourself, let's say, adequate by the Rialto features and filtering features. And indeed, you can submit your project's data. And if you are a funding agency, you can actually get linked to one of the task force team where they can help you through the process of importing a patch of set of programs or project set as well to the platform and assess this through the iHub platform. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Majid. I hope you got to see just a sliver of the immense amount of work that has gone into making this happen. And hopefully, as time goes by, the shorter time goes by, we will be able to populate information that we can move on. Would anyone have questions for Dr. Majid? Please drop it into the Q&A for our panelists. Hands raised if you can. If not, we will then can next set of our presentations. What we have coming up are presentations of projects by project coordinators. And if I may just jump the line a little bit and have a video played for the Aquasalt, so that since we are still in the video mode, so we can just get into the video for Aquasalt by Ms. Naima Al-Ghashtuli, and this will be played right now. Please, Abir.
Hello everyone, I am Naima Al-Ghashtuli, professor at University Sidi Mohammed bin Abdullah of Fez, Morocco. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the Innovation Week, as well as my colleague, Professor Najib Al-Amrani, for giving me the opportunity to participate in this important scientific event. So I will present a project entitled Agriculture Effect on Inland Saline Water Bodies and on Lake Laguna Ecological Complexes, Aquasalt. The project is coordinated by Université de Pau et des Pays de l'Ardour from France, bringing together partners including Consejo Supérieur d'Investigación Científicas from Spain, Faculté des Sciences de Bizerte de Tunisia, Université Badji Mortar de Ennaba from Algeria, and our University Sidi Mohammed bin Abdullah de Fez, Morocco. The project is funded by the program Eranet Med with an overall budget of 457,500 euros for a total period of 3 years, extended by 1 year due to delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The whole project Aquasalt is driven by water management preoccupation with the main objective to gain new insights on the effect of human activities, mainly agriculture, on microbial communities in aquatic environments from saline arid areas, and to determine a set of indicators for assessing the environmental health in such wetlands. Aquasalt focus into contrasted Mediterranean sites, Ishkel Lake in Tunisia and Salinita Lake in Spain. These two wetlands are Ramsar protected areas. Target groups are academic and scientists, as well as environmental management agencies, and mainly Ramsar protected areas management agencies. In order to reach the goals of the project, Aquasalt proposed a multidisciplinary integrated approach following the workflow of environmental characterization. Work package 2 consists in site monitoring and sampling, aiming to select sampling sites and design base data for the subsequent seasonal sampling. Work package 3 deals with agrochemicals dynamics, aiming to demonstrate the status of saline wetlands currently affected by agricultural waters in a range of saline waters and their different agrochemical conditions. Work package 4 deals with microbial and macrofaunal dynamics with the aim to establish molecular and functional inventory of microbial population and macrofaunal indexes in order to define microbial bioindicators for environmental quality assessment. Work package 1 and 5 were dedicated to the management and the dissemination of the project. The achieved inputs of Aquasalt are the characterization of aquatic network of a soil-water sediment continuum around the Ischgl Lake and Salinita wetland, including physical chemical parameters, pollutant contents, and functional and molecular microbial diversity. We have also determined the impact of pollutants and salinity on microbial assemblages and identified microbial indicators, including specialist and sensitive taxa and their functional capacity. The expected outcomes of Aquasalt are to define integrative microbial indices as accurate monitoring tools for the management and the restoration of aquatic systems, and to provide useful information to better use and protect natural resources and improve environmental water quality and for human health protection. Aquasalt will also provide the opportunity for the implementation of new management approaches that will create job opportunity and economic growth. The main results of the project are in the case of Ischgl Lake, which is a semi-arid area subjected to pollutants from agricultural and also industrial activities. We have characterized bioindicators of compartment pollutants and seasons. And we have to confirm some functional capabilities and include bioindicators in integrative indices and test these indicators in several ecosystems. In the case of Salinita, which is an arid area characterized mainly by redox changes and high salinity fluctuation, bioindicators of salinity, stratification, and seasons were defined. The results of Aquasalt are significant in the context of climatic and global changes, which reinforce the impact of human activities on microbial community. Aquasalt is an academic project and has not involved any industrial partners. We have therefore not filled in the questions related to this partnership. Concerning clustering opportunities, within Aquasalt, we have developed innovative bioindicators and knowledge about functional and molecular diversity and microbial ecotoxicology studies. So, environmental protection agencies, bioremediation, biorestoration, and biomonitoring projects are potential users of these technologies and could support their distribution and eventually their commercialization. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Abir, for playing that video. I'm afraid we'll not solicit questions on this. We would move on to the next presenters. If I may ask Professor Buthaina, please, to share her screen and show us the work, please.
Yeah. I'm looking for.
Buthaina, are you okay in sharing and starting?
I'm looking for the presentation. It's on my desk.
Do you want to take time and then maybe Haneen can move in the meantime?
Yeah, of course.
Haneen, can you start? Is it possible?
I will try. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased today to participate in this event, FEMAC brokerage event. I will present you our project entitled Innovative and Sustainable Groundwater Management in the Mediterranean, with acronym INDOMED. We are 7 partners coordinated by University Politécnica de Valencia from Spain. We are Water Research and Technology Center from Tunisia, Cyprus, Sadria, UFZ from Germany, University of Parma from Italy, Bogazici University from Turkey, Technical University of Crete from Greece, and Superior Institute from Portugal. Our whole budget is about 1.9 million euro. We are in Prima Section 1. The duration of the project is 3 years. We started from March, but we ask now for 6-month extension because of the pandemic situation. And the project is linked to the water issue. We have 4 main objectives. The first one is the willingness of stakeholders to get involved of a new innovative transport governance. Our target groups is the water, agricultural, and environmental authorities. The second objective deals with adaptation of an efficient and effective management of groundwater with the respect of economic growth in the different study area. Our beneficiary is responsible for planning and implementation for regional stakeholders, which is who are known as water decision makers. The third objective deals with the positive impact on the environment, as I said previously, and different stakeholders are involved, such as industrials, farmers, citizens, and ONG are also invited to be involved in this project. Other objective is the application of European standard on water management and wastewater treatment to non-European countries, backed with sharing experience and knowledge. The target group is senior scientists developing method and model in the collaboration approach. We also aim to the capacity building of junior scientists and hired postgraduate persons hired in the frame of the project. Now, our project, in our project, we have 5 case studies. Tunisian case study, from Greece, from Portugal, from Spain, and from Turkey. We have 7 work packages. The first one, of course, is project management. The second one deals with the monitoring and threat using high resolution sensors. The third work package is the modeling models with surrogate models with the smart modeling approach. The work package for describes essentially the socio-economic governance using participatory approach and social learning process. And the final output is the new innovative governance in each site developed in this project. The work package 5, Tunisia is the leader of this work package, is the remediation strategy to develop for each case study a remediation strategy in terms of cost benefits for each problem issue, which is overexploitation or pollution in some case study. The work package 6 is the developing of a DSS, decision support system, and Greece is the leader here. And the work package 7 will involve all dissemination actions, participation in events like this one today. And the expected outcomes have 3 dimensions. The first one is social, because in this case, the water is a common good, and all stakeholders will be invited to develop together a solution and to share their thinking about how to develop this innovative governance too. He is also economic dimension, because we will integrate farmers, industrial in developing solutions specific for this type of activities. And of course, environmental dimension is here, because we are working in this project to develop solution with different respect of pollution, overexploitation, and conserve our environment in each case study. Of course, these dimensions are interconnected between them. Until now, some outputs are achieved, and some other are there is some delay because the pandemic situation is affect largely the progress of project in some cases. Until now, we identify the main groundwater problem using SWOT analysis. And we focus on the hotspot problem for each case study. We develop also the HRM, high resolution monitoring sensor, in order to implement the sensor in some places in each area, to follow with in situ, for following in situ some parameter, nitrate, level water example, and to compare with the conventional monitoring technology. We also start with the developing a survey in order to have the first step to do this governance analysis. The model chosen in this part is not statical. It is dynamic. But I think the Turkish partner will be able to explain this in other time. We develop also the smart model. There is a lot of bilateral meetings which are done between the leader of this work package with each partner to develop a model available for each case study in terms of its complexity. And a lot of communication and dissemination action are developed and done until our midterm report. For the smart modeling, all the proposed model will be done in the respect of climate change parameters. We are one publication which is already done, and other events also. Here it is Tunisian case study, but I don't know if I have time to underline some details. Only I need to say that in our case study we have 2 problems, which is demonstrate the complexity of our case study. We have overexploitation from one side, we have pollution from another side, and it is important to develop remediation strategy with identify the cost and benefits of each strategy. For example, for industry, in order to change their practices, or for the farmers, it is important to show them that it can be, there is some benefits other that protect environment or to reduce the overexploitation of water. Here with my team, we try to fill out this table. I think how many SMEs we have, two industry, with the leather one and textile one. Until now, we are in the level or the stage of discussion, and they are identified to follow with us like a training session. We have also on us involved. How many private sectors we are engaged on the pilot and training session is 23 between Spain and Tunisia until now, but we will develop for other partners other type of training session.
Did I lose Haneen or everybody else lost Haneen as well?
I have also lost her.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Internet all over the world is nuts. You can
Let's switch off the camera.
Yeah, let's all shut the cameras, please. Haneen, we need you to start again. Oh, you're totally gone now. Okay, Haneen is gone. Maybe Huthaina, can you kick in now?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
You see the screen?
It's coming up.
It's okay?
Not yet, Huthaina, not yet. I think
It's okay now? You see the...
not yet, Huthaina, not yet.
I don't know. I have problems this morning.
Do you mind? Can you send us your presentation and maybe I can play it for you and then you can comment as we go along?
Nadim,
Yes.
our colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce, they say that they can share the...
Okay, excellent. If they do that, yes, please.
Perhaps Abir can share it because I sent it to Abir. I don't know if Abir hear me.
I think Abir can hear you. I don't know if it's, yeah, she should be able to hear you.
You hear me, Abir?
There must be something going on.
No, you didn't.
She says yes. She says that she can hear you.
Ilani is sharing.
Ah,
Okay.
she can share it.
Yes, Buthaina, are you okay? You can.
Good.
Okay, good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you to give me this opportunity to present my project. My project is entitled Valorization of Thistle Curdled Cheeses in Mediterranean Marginal Areas with the acronym of VEGI Med Cheeses. The coordinating institution is Università Politecnica delle Marche in Italy. Also, there is CREA-AN in Italy and UCAM in Spain, Demeter in Greece, and the High Institute of Agronomy in Chatmarem, Tunisia. The budget of this project is 1,342,500 euros, and it's in the program Prima section 2 with a duration of 36 months. It was extended with 12 months. The objectives of this project is to valorize traditional and typical local cheeses by meeting the worldwide increase in the demand of cheeses made by non-animal rennet. Also, it's to assess the technological and socioeconomic viability of the utilization and valorization of spontaneous herbaceous plants in the Mediterranean as traditional alternative to animal rennet. It's also to build upon traditional knowledge and culinary heritage while establishing the conditions for better control of safety and quality of these traditional cheeses. And finally, to improve the traditional cheese making value chain. Specific objectives are acquiring in-depth knowledge on different thistle species and ecotypes candidates for possible use as milk clotting agents, developing sustainable agronomic practices for thistle cultivation in the Mediterranean basin, characterizing thistle aqueous crude extracts for selection of milk clotting agents with the most promising characteristics for exploitation in cheesemaking, also exploiting crude extracts for manufacturing of both local cheeses traditionally manufactured with thistle rennet and local cheeses traditionally manufactured with other coagulating agents. And finally, assessing the consumer needs, preferences, and acceptance towards these cheeses and the potential value chain improvements. About target groups and final beneficiaries, all stakeholders in the sheep and goat milk cheese value chain, namely dairy industries, certification and control bodies, non-governmental organizations, producers of ingredients for the dairy industry, consumers, policymakers, associations, researchers, and agriculture operators. Next, please. This is the theme of our project about work package 1. It's concerning project coordination and overall management. For work package 2, it's about characterization of spontaneously grown thistle populations, and here we have 3 thistle species. Each one is endemic from one country. From Tunisia, there is Onopodon platypus, which is endemic in Tunisia. About work package 3, it's about sustainable cultivation of thistles. Work package 4, it's about characterization of fossil aqueous crude extracts. Work package 5, it's about cheese making trails and characterization of fossil curdled and controlled cheeses. Work package 6, it's about evaluation of consumer needs, preferences, and acceptance towards fossil curdled and controlled cheeses. And work package 7, it's about multi-actor internal and external communication and technology transfer. Now about results, success stories, and best practices. We have achieved outputs. From these outputs, I will cite overall 80,000 cataloged and stored fossil seeds from spontaneous populations of each fossil species. Cinara humidis in Italy, Onopordum platylepis in Tunisia, and Onopordum toricum in Spain. 3 fully characterized fossil aqueous extracts endowed with proteases, with milk coagulation, with milk coagulating activity and bioactive compounds. 1 newly purified and characterized vegetable protease with milk coagulating activity. 2 prototypes of optimized versions of Mediterranean cheeses traditionally manufactured with fossil rennet, which are Carciofiori and Torta del Casar, and 2 prototypes of vegetarian-friendly versions of Mediterranean cheeses traditionally curdled with animal rennet, which are Queso de Murcia and Feta. Also, 3 new sustainable free fossil crops, which are the 3 species, Cinara humidis, Onopordum platylepis, and Onopordum toricum, to produce fossil rennet destined to the manufacture of Mediterranean fossil curdled oven cheeses. 4 exchanges of researchers and PhD students across consortium partners, and 1 survey destined to stakeholders, 1 public website to increase consumer awareness about potentialities of fossils and fossil curdled cheeses, and 3 open access papers and attendance at 3 international conferences for the dissemination of the project outcomes. About expected outcomes, of course, it's to preserve biodiversity, contribute to the development of new products, bioactive extracts and molecules, and functional food, nutrients, and bioactive compounds linked to local traditional protocols and recipes, and according to seasonal and sustainable production schemes. Increase profitability and environmental sustainability of Mediterranean non-food crop production, improve scientist mobility, visit and exchange across the Mediterranean, and improve social well-being and rural development by contributing to creation of employment, input into the local economy, effect on socio and demographics. Develop new tools to demonstrate quality and authenticity of raw materials and products, increase efficiency and profitability of Mediterranean sheep and goat dairy sector, increase societal acceptance by proposing the use of milk coagulants of vegetal origin, plant rennet substitutes, that thus allowing to meet the demand of an increasing number of EU consumers who are aware about animal welfare and healthy food habits. Next, please. This is some photos which are showing some also results about feta cheese prototypes manufactured using fossil rennets, an absolute novelty for the dairy sector and a very promising new business opportunity for Mediterranean dairies. Also, veggie alternative of Queso de Murcia cheese curdled with the new fossil rennets under study, prepared from Onopordum platylepis, which is an endemic species from Tunisia, which the crude extract is very, very important. This is some indicators for commercialization potential. There is more than 5 industries were involved at the ideation stage of the project. One business idea was developed from the project outcome. And for entrepreneurial and cultural activities, there's 2 industries and SME researchers were trained to initiate or create enterprise. Also, there is more than 5 small and medium enterprises were using project support for cooperation in education, research and development and innovation on WEF. For technological advancement, there is more than 5 SME required technology innovation derived from project, and also more than 5 replicable technologies for resource efficient use and use of non-conventional resources were developed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, Buthaina and the CCIC team for getting this going. Haneen, I think, is back with us. And can you pick up where you left? Or before we do that, let's get Haneen on, and then we can ask questions of all of our two panelists. Is that okay with everyone, or would you have questions now? What do the panelists say?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
Okay, let's go with questions for Professor Buthaina, please. From the panelists and attendees. Attendees, please mark your questions in the Q&A box.
Yeah, from my side, my questions for Buthaina is about. It seems that you have been already implementing something for this business idea. So we wonder why it's complicated sometimes to provide the number of the target groups or the final beneficiaries that you are engaging in your proposals. At the end, after some time of development, you should be able to rank them. I mean, it's not a concrete data, but I would say, let's say that we have engaged 3 to 5 cheese producers, or that we have been involved in the capacity building of the cheese producers in developing this new business idea. So I would say that if we return to the KPIs and we start making some questions on an informal way, we could have some relevancy here, and you could provide some figures. So maybe I'm wrong, but it's just after checking the content of your presentation, I realized, okay, these people is doing more than they are expressing here, and there are the different potential issues to capitalize or to sell as future business idea, or to request external investment.
Dr. Buthaina, you're muted. If you can answer, please.
I didn't receive. I didn't hear very well the question. Please, Dr. Najim, if it is possible to, because the connection was bad, so I didn't receive all the question.
Okay. Basically, if you're your work, why are you unable to inform on the number of beneficiaries that you can get, or the involved partners that you can eventually get to? Basically that. Gustavo, please add on to it if you have.
No, that's all. I mean, it's just to understand, because there is potential. They have shown the pictures of people working on that. So I guess that the people is doing capacity building of those associations or cheese producers that they are working with. They reflected the business idea, but how this can be in some way capitalized? You have a size of the potential business, or there is something that you could address in the future in terms of a patent application linked to the outputs that you are developing? Or how many industries from the Chambers of Commerce or Cheese Producers Association reached to you interested on your project outputs?
Yeah, I think that now we are in the research step. I mean, we have we have to to have a good results with these good extracts of these plants, and after I think it will be easier to touch the majority of industries when we show them that the result of these experiments are good, and they can use the extracts of these species for their to make their cheeses. I think this is the problem. I don't know if I answered your question, Dr. Gustavo.
You know that I'm more prone to at the end discuss about the figures, concrete numbers. So I know that scientists try to, let's say, fly around the issues, and it's complicated to change the mindset into figures. And I would say that you have such figures, but it's during the work package that you reflected there about the commercialization and the transfer, and you will realize that you have plenty of figures to let's say better sell the outputs of the project.
Okay, maybe we can. This is a very important topic. Later, you know, when we wrap up, part of the wrap up, I think what Gustavo has raised is very important, in that doing science for the sake of science may be acceptable at many times, but in other times also science for improvement, livelihood, and reaching out and making lives better for people through commercial enterprises. That's also equally important, and a lot of the funding nowadays is going towards that kind of work. Issues of logistics now. We need to finish up with Professor Haneen. Then maybe we can take a 5-minute bathroom, coffee break, whatever, so that at least we can take a little bit of time, 5 minutes, not longer, but I'll indicate that. And then when we come back, we need to join group 1 in the breakout session. So before we do that, let me go back over to Haneen. Haneen, can you please pick up where you left and share your screen?
Okay. I am Hanan.
Hanan, I don't know Hanan or Haneen, because your name is written E.
Yes. Okay.
Hanan.
Yes, Hanan.
Okay, sorry, I
No,
apologize.
no problem. No problem. I think
we lost you at around slide 10, maybe 9 or 10.
The technological advancement, I think. Or
yeah,
before?
if you can a little bit and start so that we can get into the swing of things. Start, yes, you know, the very start of the indicators. That will be good for us.
Okay. For project indicators, we have, for example, for how many SMEs were using project support for cooperation in research institutions or WEF. We have 2 industries focused in our project: leather industry and textile under one. That will focus also on agri-food activities. How many SMEs were using? How many enterprises were involved in the project? If you consider us as enterprise, how many public or private stakeholders were engaged in joint pilot or training session? Our focus group is from 10 Spain and 13 Tunisia. How many public institutions we're cooperating towards the strengthened multi-level governance for delivering integrated resource planning and measures. Here we talk about only, for example, for Tunisia, we have CRDA, NABLE, and the Commune of Siomé, because our site is the Grand Belia groundwater site. How many prototypes were developed or planned in relation of resource efficiency or demand management? Here, one until now. For example, in Tunisia, we developed one pilot with advanced oxidation process focused essentially on electrochemical treatment as post-treatment or decentralized treatment in order to improve water quality for reuse and to provide other type of thinking about treatment water, reuse it, recycle it in each activity. Focused. How many technology transfer support activity are initiated were there? Here we think for treatment, for example, and for surrogate model, it can be also planned as a transfer technology. How many pilot or application of new technology in living labs were there? Four for Spain and one for Tunisia. 3 SMEs through the training session are able to require technology innovation derived from this project. And how many replicable technology for resource efficient use or non-conventional resource were developed? Here we will focus in this project for the development of non-conventional water resources, which will be proposed to use in order to substitute the groundwater in the site. For clustering opportunity, I will choose one from each side because we have no time. Reduction of the overexploitation of groundwater on the sea water intrusion, optimization of groundwater demands. The offer is promoting of dialogue between stakeholders and sharing of vision to avoid overexploitation, as well as the contamination of the aquifer. We have also as demand improvement on non-conventional water use option, considering their quality assessments. Here the offer is the reuse of treated wastewater with acceptable quality in industrial activity and encouragement of wastewater producer in adapting the best treatment technology available in the market. We have also the reinforcement of early warning system and real-time assessment of aquifer remediation. The offer is the use of high resolution monitoring and web-based DSS tool as real-time and early warning system to help decision maker to react more efficiently. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Hanan. Right?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Look, it is 11:55 Beirut, 55 Tunisia and Spain time. A 5-minute break and recharge a little bit with some coffee and water and whatnot, and we will rejoin into group 1. Everybody please go to group 1 so that we can do our analysis of the 2 projects that have been presented by our esteemed panelists. Okay, 5 minutes and join group 1, please. All right, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I hope we are all okay and back here. I think we have more. We have attendees. We lost some panelists and we gained some attendees. So our next part of the project of the program is for us as a team, everyone, to be able to score the projects that we have. So to do this, we will need some support from two important people. We've got with us Dr. Nancy Zarour from Lebanon. She will be running the score for us. And also we need to start looking at what our two esteemed panelists, Hanan and Buthaina, gave us as scores. So that we can then give a score to each of the benchmarks. Now, let me pull up the presentation that I had shared with you earlier today, so that remember how to score, right? So we're now looking at scoring our presentations. Let me see if I can pull up my presentations. Remember how to score, right? So I cannot hear you, sorry. Who said what? Somebody was saying something. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, if we go back, this is how we're going to be scoring our work. So we need to look at the metric value that's provided to us by our two panelists for their project. And then we will look at, see how they score given our benchmark ratio, benchmark to metric ratio, and assess the project accordingly. So our table, I'll keep it in, on the side with me, and then we will pull it up for every one of those that we have. So what we're going to be doing is the benchmark ratio. Let me stop sharing now and ask, let's start with Hanan, if I may. Hanan, can you bring up your sheet and the scores for those? So that we can start scoring, if I may.
Sorry, I will.
Yes.
I have to share my screen again.
Yes, you know, in your presentation you had the scores at the very end.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Just 1 minute. Okay.
So what I want to ask all our participants or all our attendees is to help us give a score to the project. There is apparently there is an echo to what I'm saying. I'm sorry if this is happening. Is the voice okay now?
Okay.
So is this the first scoring that we have?
Yes, this, I don't know if you have to score only at this midterm level or like target scoring after all the period of project.
There are 5 functions that we want to score: commercialization potential, intellectual property rights protection, entrepreneurial culture, magnitude of cooperation, and technical advancement. So now we only have two with you, right? Of cooperation. And
yes. And at this level of project, at the midterm period, we have now discussed with two industries for this type of KPI.
so the other three, we have no score, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for now, maybe we can then.
I don't know if this one also it is.
We have only these two. So it will be difficult for us to assess how the overall score is going to be. But let us focus on the two indicators that you have and score them, if I can. But before we launch into, let's do that, and then we will solicit comments from our guests. Buthaina says she can hear people speaking. If I may ask everyone else to mute their microphone so that we can go on. Buthaina, are you still facing the same problem? Okay, can't hear Buthaina. Okay, so if let us start with scoring the magnitude of cooperation as a function for Hanan's project. First, you remember that there are the first one is how many SMEs were using the project for cooperating with research institutes. There are two that we have. And the benchmark value, if I may, I will tell you, is typically 40. So to score Hanan's first indicator that she's reported on, how many SMEs, sorry, we need to move, how many SMEs? 40, we need to divide the score that we have by 40 and come up with a score that we can give to Hanan. So 2 divided by 40 is going to give us 0.05. And if we look at the range, how can we split screens, Abir, or it's difficult for us to split screens? Okay, no response. Okay, I need to ask two things before we move on. I would appreciate it if somebody can send us Buthaina's presentation so that when we do the scoring, we put the two slides together. This way people can see them better. So for this, we will do manually with Hanan's project. We will do the scoring manually. And then when we get to the other one, we can put the scores, the indicator scores and the benchmarks next to each other so that we can score them. Then Nancy can come in with the online scoring, right?
Yes,
can we do
and
that,
I can share my screen already for the manual scoring.
Okay, but let everybody please. We've got 4, 5 indicators out of the ones that we have. Can we score those? Remember or write down the scores that we have, please. For the SMEs, cooperating with research institutes, it's 2. For the SMEs using support for cooperation with education, it's 0. For enterprises involved with the project, it's 1. For public-private sector stakeholders, it's 23. And for public institutions, it's 12. Okay, Nancy, can you jump in here now, please?
Yes.
Hanan, can you stop sharing?
Okay. That's my question. What is the difference between the first question and the second concerning SMEs?
The voice is very low. We can barely hear you.
Okay. It is better now?
Yeah, just.
Concerning the first table, what is the difference between the first question and the second one concerning SMEs? The innovation part or?
On the magnitude of cooperation?
Yes.
It is number of enterprises that can be large enterprises versus small and medium enterprises. And the second, we're looking at, sorry, in your sheet, you're looking at question 1 and 2, right? The first one being how many SMEs were using program support for cooperating with research institutes. So how many SMEs were being supported for work with the research institutes, and how many were involved in education, research and development, and innovation on the WEF? There is a slight difference. But I guess the scoring can be very similar in those. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Nancy. So
yes, I'm not sure.
Nancy, I think the 2 needs to be.
We can see the screen
for the second one.
I can't hear you.
No, I think 0 is for the first.
0 is for the first?
Yes. Luis, you had something to say?
So it was 0 and 2, 1, 23 and 12.
Yes. So
yes.
The benchmark for is 1/50. That gives you a 0.02 score.
Yes. And this one.
And that's 0.19.
That's over 300. 0.04.
And this is 0.04. If we look at the scoring that we had, the table, let me then put up my screen now, if I may. Okay. It is, all the scores are less than 0.3, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, Nadim?
The scores that we got for the benchmarks using the benchmark ratio, benchmark to metric ratio, the scores for the first set that we had, the the magnitude of cooperation, the scores were low, less than 0.3 for on the 5 out of the 6 parameters that we had. So the scores was on less than 0.3, and that gives you a benchmark ratio score of 1. That if we move now again, your turn, Hanan, if you put up the second sheet that you have.
Sorry?
If you can
If
please
I
put
can
up.
say something. Okay. For example, for the number used for benchmarking, for example, for 300, if all projects are evaluated at the same level, I don't know if there is on the total number concerning, for example, problem of water, there is 300 in all partners. I don't know how, if possible, if you can explain me how to choose 3. For example, the project, it can be for food, for water, for how to define this number. It is important to know as project in order to
Yes.
to
Hanan,
improve
you have read Gustavo's mind. He was saying that the benchmarks seemed a bit too high, and this may be so. I think, if I'm not, I think we need to, and this is the essence of this exercise today, is to assess how rigorous the benchmarks are. Because when we did the benchmark scoring, we assessed it based on projects that were presented in the literature. I think, if I'm not mistaken, these are projects with a big number of partners and maybe longer time period. I believe we should normalize, we need to normalize. Now, hindsight is excellent. Maybe we need to normalize the benchmark to 2 things: time, and maybe the time over which it worked, and maybe that's the budget, and also the number of partners involved. You cannot have 1 or 2 partners being assessed in the same manner as a consortium of 11 or 12 partners. I think that's problematic. And our exercise today really showed us that this is a problem. That is something that for us to revisit as developers of this scoring. So for this, I apologize for the low score, Hanan, sorry. And we need to revisit our exercise. But maybe we can move to the next part and also see how Buthaina's scoring comes along, because your group is slightly smaller than Buthaina's, if I'm not mistaken, or am I mistaken? How many are in your group, Hanan?
In our group as partners, or as
your entire producing this project, the entire consortium that you're working with?
Sorry, there's some problem of connection. Did you?
How many partners are you in this project?
7 partners.
7 partners. Buthaina, how many are you?
We are 5.
You are 5. Okay. Yeah. So we need to assess the
but
partners.
I think that.
Yes, please. Buthaina, you're muted. If you want to say something, please unmute.
No, it was Hanan.
Hanan.
Yeah.
Hanan, you wanted to say something, please.
I think the number of sites, it's more, it will be more, it reflects more the number of stakeholders involved after, because when we have 5 sites, for example, in each site, all activity are done around these sites. Because some partners are just for dissemination, or we will not do activity related to the task exactly. For example, I
Okay,
think the number.
so number of sites being worked, this is in the normalizing factor maybe that we should work on.
Yes. Yes. Also, the maybe that it will be developed on the target, because we define from from starting the project, or where are developing our proposal, we develop the KPI which will reach. I don't know if when we put normalize one indicator for all projects, it can be not. I don't know. I just I am thinking with you about this number.
Yeah, it is to me. Now I'm thinking on my feet, and because we went through rigorous literature review to get the benchmarks, we spent a long time getting those, and at the first test, they didn't do so well, did they? They were not very reflective. They were a little bit on the high side. We need to assess basically something to level the playing field, so that it depends on, as you said, the site, maybe the number of partners actively engaged in the work rather than the dissemination, the budget that's being put in, and the time that is put in. All these I can think of right now as issues to use to normalize maybe the benchmark score, so that when we score something, it has better meaning and it reflects reality better. We are very open to suggestions on this. But before we go on, I need to receive Buthaina's presentation. If somebody can email it to me, I will put my email in the chat so that we can use it in our scoring for Buthaina's work as well. Also, Hanan, can you please put up your second tables to see how that does, how it scores on that? Hanan?
I have to share again my screen?
Yes, please, if you can reshare your screen.
Okay. The second table.
Yes, the technological advancement.
Okay.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 parameters out of 5 that we have requested. And the scores for those are in order 1, 2, 5, 3, 3. Okay, so now Nancy will need to share her screen if we can, please. Nancy, can you put up your screen?
Okay, I stop.
Yes, please. Thank you. Nancy?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So it's 1.
Okay, 1 out of 30, 2 out of 100. If you want, I can give you the scores so that you write them. Okay, 1 out of 30 is 0.033.
Yes.
5. That's 0.02. Uh, 0.55 or 0.56. And the next, please, is 3 out of 50. That's 0.06. So we got, if we can task those, let me pull up my scoring sheet here. So we have the first one scores very poor,
Yes.
as does the second. The third one, how many pilots, is fair. You scored fair on that. And then the other one, how many SMEs with technology innovation, was 3 out of 50. That scored also poor, very poor. And the last one, 3 out of 9, scored poor, between 3 and 5. Again, the issue here comes up with how many the benchmark scores may be a little bit on the high side. We really should rethink the benchmarking and how to score that. This is essential. This is because in some areas it's okay, in other areas it doesn't. The numbers may be too high. That's our homework. Hanan, please.
Yes, for example, in the case of when we fix 100, because, for example, in our case, I can talk about our project. When we will propose a new technology for one industry, as example, textile, when we will develop some scenarios to say this technology will be improve water quality and to reuse in some steps in the process, it is to reach the real implementation, because of course the industry has already implemented its station for wastewater treatment, and to reach real implementation, it's a hard target. So I don't know, the 100 is reflect really the because duration 3 years. It is, I don't know if because as you say, it is very poor, the outputs of our project.
Yes.
So if you can explain more, because just for example, in our case, we develop prototype. We will develop different scenario of treatment technology for each activity, but one prototype will be used.
Yes.
Because there is a budget limited for this activity. There is a limitation of full implementation for industries. We need money. We need to show them really how will benefits with this changement. It is a lot of work to do. I don't know if 100 is.
No. You see, what you have, what I need to make a strong point here and say that the work, what we're doing here, is not really I don't want it to be what we're doing now as a judgment of the work that has been presented, but it is not by any chance.
Okay.
We need to make sure that this is perfectly understood. What we try to do is find performance indicators that describe the work. So we need now, today, once we finish with the second sort of exercise using Buthaina's work. What if we need to make sure that not only if the benchmark values are high, and this seems to indicate that in the absolute they may not be realistic. So let us be very frank here. I want to say maybe our benchmarks are not realistic, and we really need to reinvestigate how the literature that we had gone through. That's our homework number one. And the other thing that is also we need input from everybody here is that are the indicators that we have used, the metrics that we have used, do they really describe well the 5 functions that we're looking at? If there are issues, we need then to make sure that we address them before we start collecting more and more information and passing scores that may not be adequately reflective of the level of commercialization that can be attained. At the end of the day, we really need to be realistic in what we are doing. We're trying to tie down science into something that's commercial. So please, I'm not going to ask now, but keep this at the back of your mind. Are the metrics that we are proposing reflective of the functions that we are looking at? The benchmarks, automatically now we can say they may be a bit too high. Maybe we need to reflect on that and adjust those. But also, please, as we move into the second exercise, into the second project, please think of the metrics that we're using. Are they picking up exactly what we want from the functions? Okay? Okay. Everyone fine? There is another person who wants to. Gustavo, please jump in.
Nadim, I would say that from the feedback that we are receiving, maybe we need to better define what we are understanding for certain keywords. So for the questions in the future, we need to specify a little bit of what we understand as, for example, a technology transfer activity. What is a prototype? What is understood as a prototype? Which is what we identify as a public or private stakeholder when we are discussing about the enterprise, defining the size of the enterprise.
Yes.
Which is the program support for cooperation. We need to define, maybe for us it's clear, but for the people that we are targeting, we need to specify a little bit. And the same, maybe we need to reformulate a little bit the questions.
Yes, yeah. Indeed. Because some activities may not be reported because the question is formulated in a
I would say not reply because maybe there is not enough questions or maybe there are not examples. I would say that once we evolve the situation, having some prescriptors or having some kind of examples could be a way to engage the participants or understanding. So the issue is now for Harin, okay, let's say that in the future, our project evolves better, we are reaching better outputs, the benchmark are lower, so we have a certain, let's say, classification, ranking, so in some way, because now we are engaging them, they are providing us some information, but they need to know, okay, I have been this morning here, and I need to know which is my benefit. I mean, we are providing them, okay, you are in the middle of your project, you are reaching this type of outputs, they are classified in this way. So if we fit your information on the iHub, you will have this visibility, which is my potential to make a matchmaking with people from the private sector that could be interested in the outputs of my project.
Yes.
So this is I would say that we need also not only to discuss what we are needing. So for us, it's becoming clear that we need to adapt to speak the same language as the scientists or researchers, but the researchers need also to try to adapt the outputs of their projects. They need to start become salesmen in some way, because they have the data, they have the knowledge, they have the background that could improve the capitalization of their outputs, outcomes, and impacts. So now is the better they sell their idea, the higher visibility, the let's say more potential matchmaking they may have once we introduce the data in the module, in the platform. And
Indeed.
once we start increasing the number of users of the platform, they can be, for example, because we have different users of the platform with different, let's say, profiles, capabilities. So let's say that someone from funding agencies can surf into the iHub. They have the list of the projects that they have funded, that they have been classified and ranked. So they can be selected as a success story to be, let's say, promoted in the future, or to engage or connect with other initiatives for synergies. So I mean, there are different aspects. In fact, I would say that within the website, we have what we call a motivational package for the users of the iHub, to let them understand which are the profits for them to participate, to include their data, which are the potential benefits that they may obtain. So I would say that this is also that we need to link with the KPIs to let the people understand which are the benefits of introducing the data, or sharing their data, or participating in this kind of participatory activities. At the end, they should have some kind of reward when they return to work.
Yes, indeed. Hanan, you have your hand raised. You want to say something, or it's the old hand?
Yes, I don't know. It's okay. Yes, I agree with Gustavo, but just we need to specify two other things to consider, according to me. The first one is the duration of project, because when we are at mid-level, it will be, for example, half KPI will be reached, for example. For example, for the question how many public or private stakeholders it is countable with persons or only by institutes, because it is important to here, for example, we have to, each living lab will around 20 or 30 persons. It will be from 5 living labs or projects. It can be reached easily 300, for example. And the second one activity is agriculture, when our stakeholder is the farmer. Because I think our question is oriented to the SMEs. When, because there is an impact of economic impact, I think, when we will propose practice solutions or sustainable solution to farmers. How to evaluate this parameter? I don't know. I ask.
Farmers are considered small enterprises.
Okay.
Okay, so if you reach 10 farmers, these are 10 enterprises that you have reached to. Okay. And if you have involved, let's say, 10 farmers and 2 agro-food industry facilities, and you have reached to the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Industry, these are 3 other facilities. So there are many combinations. And what I think, and I like with what Gustavo had said, is the following. Scientists do research for 2 purposes. One, if you're in the American system of the publish or perish life, you need to be doing research and producing papers. So this is accounted for here. But also scientists especially those that are involved in technologies and technology transfer, need to be able to sell their idea to somebody. And the purpose of the iHub is not only for donors to assess whether they want to fund a certain research, it's also for enterprises that do have money, donors being countries and large agencies, but you want also investment people who can come in and look at the iHub and identify projects that have been submitted to iHub for evaluation, pick up a project that is useful for them, fund it because it has the potential to succeed. This potential to succeed should be reflected by the econometric model that we develop. And the econometric model that we develop relies strongly on what we have put up here as metrics and key performance indicators, basically along the 5 functions that we have. So it is so well intricated and integrated that we really need to identify clearly what we mean by each of the metrics, maybe define an example, because oftentimes when people are entering data into the iHub, they don't have me or my team or Gustavo and his team explaining all of this. This should be sort of intuitive and understood directly. So we need to be working on putting a simpler question out with maybe examples for those questions that are not simple to understand immediately. And also we need to be looking at the benchmarks and how to level the playing field between different projects and see how we can score those. Maybe the benchmarks we used are just part of what needs to go into the scoring. Maybe we need to add different scoring approaches also. So we have sort of our work cut out for us here at AUB. And this is great that you gave us this opportunity to try this out. Hanan, I'm sorry, it's not an intention at all to disparage or speak poorly of your work. It's an excellent piece of work that you're doing.
No, it isn't the case.
So please, it's not meant to be a judgment session. We have received Buthaina's work. So if we want just to go quickly over the scores that Buthaina had shared with us, Nancy, shall we put the scores up for that? Shall I read them for you for the veggie med cheeses?
Yes, please, if you may read them for me.
Yes. For the commercialization potential, the function, how many industries were involved in the ideation stage? The score was more than 5. So I don't know if more than 5 is 6, 7, or 50 or 60. Buthaina, can you tell us? If you're saying anything, Buthaina, you may be muted. Okay, let's assume 5, Nancy, for that. And for how many business ideas were developed from the project outcomes, it's 1. And the rest are zeros. Now again, Buthaina, I hope you can hear me. The zeros are because they're actually 0 or you don't have information on those. Buthaina? I think we lost Buthaina. Gustavo, you have your hand up or it's an old one?
No, it's a raised one, but I would say it's the opportunity just for the attendance, for the panelists of what would you like to include? Maybe it's not reflected as an indicator because it is what we have been discussing. That is not the unique truth. Maybe there are other things that we are not considering as a potential indicators. And the people here could suggest, okay, we consider that this should be evaluated.
Yes, Gustavo, I wanted to do that, but after we finish.
Sure, after, just in case that.
With this scoring exercise a little bit. Buthaina, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, excellent. Welcome back. So in the commercialization potential table that you shared, you had 3 zeros there. Is that because they are zeros or because you have no information on those? For example, how many SMEs invested in the project? The value, for example, is the value in euros. How much money was invested? You had 0. And how many intellectual property rights does the project have in relation to water, energy, and food? You had also 0. And how many commercialization or market studies were conducted as part of this project? You also had 0. Are these zeros because you have no information, or are these zeros because they are actually, nothing was done on those?
Yeah, because we have not information until now.
Okay.
We are still processing with the experiments, and we just begin to prepare to have this information.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so the zeros are actually 999 that we need to score, basically, and that goes also to the intellectual property. Excuse me. Intellectual property rights protection. There are no values there. The entrepreneurial and cultural activities. How many entrepreneurial ideas were identified and supported in relation to WEF? We're still at 0 because we haven't moved on in the project. We're still at the early stages, I guess. So there is no data on this right now. The only data we have is that 2 industries and MSE researchers were trained to initiate or create enterprises.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then again, how many SMEs were using the project? You had more than 5. Do you have a number, or it's just, I was asking if it's more than 5.
I have an exact number, but I'm sure that it is more than 5. I'm not sure that I'm not sure about the exact number of the SMEs.
It's between 5 and 10, let's say, or more than 10?
More than 10.
Okay, so we can say 10 and more. And I guess it's the same that applies at the bottom of the technological advancement, that the more than 5, these are the same enterprises that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's more than 10 as well. So the scores that we have are what, 0.2. Again, the benchmark is really giving us a hard time in giving a fair reflection of the work. That's for 2 reasons. The projects in both cases are still ongoing. They're not complete. And in another, the other reason may be that it is the benchmarks themselves are a little bit inflated and need to be normalized. So having said that, if we can reflect a little bit on where we ended with Gustavo's talk. I mean, the scores are between fair and very poor for both occasions, except with the last one for Buthaina's team on the replicable technologies for efficient use and use of non-conventional resources, that's more than 1. That's about 1.1. And that would give us a very good score. So early times to give a reflection on this. Now we move to what Gustavo had raised, and please, I would expect the attendees, you are integral to this process and very important part. Can you also share with us if the functions or the indicators that we're using, are they reflective of the functions? Do you have some that we need to introduce maybe that are good indicators for assessing projects? I think everybody can speak. You've been given the privilege or the right to speak on this.
Sorry, can you repeat, please, Dr. Nadim?
Yes. My question is this. We have 5 functions that we expect of a project to move from the research stage to the implementation stage. And we have indicated what these functions are. These functions are: what are the commercialization potential? What are the intellectual property rights, utilization and protection that we run into? What type of cultural and entrepreneurial activities have we conducted or can be conducted during this project? What is the magnitude of cooperation? This reflects how many actors are brought in or stakeholders are brought in to make this project successful at the various levels that we're looking at. And the final function that we're looking at, what are the technological advancements that this project is putting forward? And for each of these functions, we have come up with a list of indicators that we want to reflect, that we think describe or reflect the function. We may have missed some, and we may have some that are not useful. And I would greatly appreciate if the attendees and the panelists join in and dissect this. What do you think? Do you think there are indicators that we need to add or indicators that we need to take out? Forget the benchmarks. The benchmarks will need to be reworked, and we will be doing that. Can anybody jump in? Mind you, the silence is a sign
It's
of...
a question from Nikos in the chat.
Okay, please, Nikos.
Can you please show us an overview of the metrics?
Yes, give me a second, I will pull it out. Nancy, please let me share my screen. Let me see where my presentation is. Okay, this is the metric. Oh, shoot. This is the metric we're talking about. Nikos. Can you see it well? Okay. Did you confirm something missing, or it's there for you? Okay. Shall I unshare my screen, or it's okay to keep it up there? Let's keep it up there and let's walk through. Shall I call people by name now? Fatima Bahiri. What do you think? Fatima is silent. Habib? Okay. No Habib. Khitam?
There is a suggestion for Nikos to consider about the, I would say it's linked maybe to the pillar of the entrepreneurial or the magnitude of cooperation. And he suggests about considering fine-tune or adapt a new indicator about the number of early adopters or innovators that could capitalize the solution after the end of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, or close to that. They know, you know, that sometimes the project is closed, but they are under negotiations with some early adopters. So this could be the situation. So maybe this is a good point to reflect there about the issue of which could be of these two pillars, the indicator that we could fine tune in some way.
Okay, I'm getting this down. Nancy, please also. This to add maybe early adopters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This I would say that this afternoon we could also have the chance, once we check the projects that are going to be presented under different frameworks, because these are business ideas or not, let's say, more mature step or early development, and we could check about which is the reality. I mean,
okay.
Which is I would say those people that are entrepreneurials and more linked to the need to sell the project idea are more prone to provide quantified or speak the same language. And I would say this is a good opportunity also for the attendants to reflect, okay, we should try to, beyond science, try to improve our capabilities to exploit the outputs of the projects that we are developing. The people is doing, but I mean, we need to improve the skills of our, let's say, commercialization language.
Yes, of our scientists.
Yeah.
I have shared in the chat earlier my email, and I would greatly appreciate the attendees and others that would be attending the afternoon session to please email us any of their thoughts on these indicators, because now you may not be thinking of this, and once you get into the brokerage sessions, things can start popping up, and then you can throw our way. Our let's say constraint might be on how to quantify or score some of the indicators that you come, but then that's our worry and not yours. But we would greatly appreciate any input from you. This is the core of the session, why we need to be working on this. Buthaina, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I have just a reflection, a remark, because as scientists and researchers, I think that the problem is when we are submitting a project, we are concentrated at 80% perhaps on the scientific part or scientific aspects of the project. And all these indicators, and I don't see that they aren't important, but they are really less important than the feasibility of the scientific side of the project.
Okay, one thing, projects that get studied and are successful tend to have good scientific basis. So we are implicitly accepting that these projects have solid scientific foundation. And what we're asking here is, how do we take these science-based projects and convert them to something that is commercially viable? In a way, we as scientists have to start learning also not to only address our peers, but to address those that can take our work and make something useful for the lay person, or to make useful for the general population. Gustavo?
No, I completely agree with you. It's like I would say, for the first couple of papers that scientists need to submit, and it's a process. It's hard at the beginning. You need to adapt to the language of the publishers. You need to implement the outputs of your research in a suitable way. For the capitalization, it's also a trip, a journey that the scientists must be developed. It's a transition. I mean, from the moment that you realize that you have something, how to turn this into another type of language, how you employ, because at the end you will be requested such kind of a way of thinking in the future for the proposals. You only have to pay attention to Horizon Europe calls for proposals that now they have implemented what is called the impact canvas. So you have to concretely define and quantify your ambition. You have to reflect there your dream pathway of the outputs of your scientific research. And that's not only that you have to be good at the research, but you have to be grouped and make a consortium around a series of facilitators and users that provide you the feasibility, the credibility that what you have proposed will reach a way to be capitalized by someone. So this is why we are putting a lot of emphasis on the need of evaluating the projects and trying to quantify this commercialization potential. It's an exercise. We are at the starting phase. We are also learning with the projects that we are identifying, and we are making interviews. And what we have learned so far is that we are far from the potential commercialization of the outputs. And sometimes those projects that try to reflect that they have a high TRL, when they start to develop the activity, they realize that they were so ambitious, and maybe the technology readiness level of their solutions is lower than expected. So this is an issue also to consider about how overpromising we are when we are indicating on a proposal and the reality, and how we try to reduce our promises in terms of the feasibility. There should be a balance.
Definitely, yes. Yes, I mean, if we're soliciting funding for a certain project that in part it's expected of us to make it into a commercial activity, then yes, we need to address these. If we're only looking at science for science, there are other venues for our funding to come from.
The issue, Nadine, is that the people is becoming more professional.
Yeah.
And the people is, maybe you have better science than another consortium, but they are surrounded by a group of supporting people that are making the key questions to these scientists, that despite they have not as good science as you, but they have replied to the key questions of these people, and they are selling better your scientific idea.
Indeed, and we were talking in the chat earlier that sometimes, and in certain areas, for example, in the US, when they succeeded with a research triangle, is that when the private sector, the commercial sector, tapped the academic and research institutes, asking them for specific questions to answer. they needed help in research. So this started the ball rolling, and the role of government was to facilitate this interaction. Now, this is a common practice in many European countries, and in the Southern Mediterranean, it is not building up yet as on both sides of the fence, I would say. The commercial and the private sector don't look for their own peers or for their own colleagues and compatriots for questions to answer. They look north. And we need to break this north-south divide, and we really need to break and include the commercial, academic highway, let's say, open it so for a free exchange on both ways. This is, for me personally, this is my personal look at things. And this is how I think of this project and how I think it is going to be successful for us and why it will be successful. If we just break a little bit that break down that fence, bring it down a little bit. Hanan, you have your hand raised. And Hanan.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree with the professor. Okay. My connection is not good. Sorry for that. I agree with the Professor Bosaina that as a scientist, we give a scientist the scientific part or scientific level a great part of our effort. But I think I underlined something that in the PRIMA call, we are asked also to fill out this KPI, and it is they are similar to the parameter in metrics that we propose here. Some parameters are similar, because I think for the PRIMA call, essentially section 1, we need to move from scientific development to the real implementation. It is the target of this type of project. But I don't know if it is also possible to reach this target. But we tried as scientists to reach these goals. Just I need to underline this point. We are conscient that we have not only publication, not only patent, we have to develop a prototype with or sustainable practices or roadmap for different activities to reach this target. We are conscient from this for this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We are 12 minutes over our allotted time. For me, this has been a great eye-opener and quite informative, at least for an individual. I don't know for the rest, and I hope the attendees, our attendees, benefited at least some as much as I did. I really want to thank our two illustrious panelists, Bosaina and Hanan. Without you, we wouldn't have started to realize the monumental task that we still have to make this tool available to you and to other researchers. I would want to stop at this point and turn it over for Gustavo. Do you have anything to say? You're saying it in the chat.
Yeah, I was posting in the chat. I mean, for us, it's a great experience that we want to keep replicating to enrich on a bilateral way, not only our approach, but also to understand which are your problems, which are your requests, how we can support in the future, as we reflected during the opening ceremony. I mean, there is a couple of projects within FIMAC. We try to analyze, we try to classify, we try to understand the projects, their situation on the technology readiness level scale, how they could be supported. And through Next Labs, we are opening in the coming future the possibility for vouchers to further develop some ideas at the testing, at the incubation, or at the innovation level. So there is a possibility that if you stay tuned to the networks and you fulfill the criteria that is going to be reflected there, you could have the chance to apply for this kind of vouchers in the region. But most of them are focused to Jordan and Lebanon, but some of them are open to the Mediterranean. So this is an opportunity for you all just to understand the possibilities that we are offering. It's not only about this matchmaking tool, it's also about the funding possibilities. I would say modest one, but sometimes you need some kind of, let's say, final test that you cannot cover, or some kind of business evaluation. So there will be a definition for each type of voucher there that maybe you could apply and it's relevant for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, with this, I guess we'll be wrapping up. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you later. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Seriously, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.